A couple items just to get started. I know some of you are here to talk about the news from over the weekend with the Oklahoma football game. We'll get to that information here very shortly. Let Kyle talk about that and answer any questions you have about moving the football season up a week. And then, of course, within the last half an hour, the Missouri Valley Conference has announced that for the rest of the fall sports, that they will go to a non-conference or a conference-only schedule beginning in September 18th for volleyball, soccer, and then the other fall sports. So a lot of news here in the last couple of days, and we just want to give you guys a chance to talk to the AD and answer any question or ask any questions that you might want to direct to Kyle. So Kyle, we'll turn the room over to you and go from there.
Great, thanks, Rick. Again, as most of you know, with the president's vote last week, we made public today. Looking forward to having sports, period, whenever we can have them, and certainly with the fall sports being announced that we'd be available September 18th, provided everything continues to go in the right direction. So I'll open it up with that. I know there's questions there, but looking forward to getting the season started September 18th.
Yeah, Kyle, you just, you have the separate announcements today. You have the Valley saying, you have the football conference saying one thing, too early to tell, while you have the others saying we're going to delay it a few weeks, mid-September. Just how is there a difference, just kind of, what's the difference between the two to have two different decisions there?
Well, the biggest thing is football, obviously, because that's the football conference, and we've got the Big 12. I believe now has 6 games involving Missouri Valley Conference schools. So we want to wait until the very end. We're going to wait until the Big 12, the ACC, and the SEC makes their decision. We're not going to get out in front of them. Once they make their decision, then we'll make our decision. If that's status quo with 12 games, we'll move forward. If that's not the case, then we'll probably have to modify. But again, the president will make that decision based upon what comes up here in the next week.
What's the going between some sports are going to still be able to do non-conference while other ones will go to strictly conference? Was that just a little more cushion time to where we don't start till middle of September instead of starting at the end of August, like when volleyball would start and whatnot?
Well, all the sports are going to start September 18th, with the exception of football. That just depends on what happens again with the votes and what comes out. But all of our sports in the fall will start September 18th. You've got baseball and softball that aren't, obviously they're not in their season, but they will also get to participate provided everybody's within their guidelines. But September 18th is a start date. Everybody can return to school and start practice August 17th. I think there's a couple teams in the Valley that don't start school till a week later, but those teams will still be able to start practice on that August, I believe 16th date or 17th date when people come back to school, and then we'll start the 18th.
That includes basketballs right now?
Basketball can be back. Yeah, they're doing, yeah. Obviously, they're still doing what they normally do, and that's okay. I think they're in that 20-hour period right now, or that 8-hour period. I can't remember exactly, but I don't think anything will change there. I don't think nothing will change up to that situation.
Kyle, let me jump in real quick to clarify Dan's question. You asked about which ones are doing conference only. That's soccer and volleyball are conference only. The others are just not conducive to that. So that's your golfs and cross countries where you have just a lot of schools that come together for one meet anyway. So that's the clarification on that.
Okay, I'm with
you.
Thank you.
My fault. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I have to imagine there's some kind of cost saving with this, just by moving things to conference, so a couple sports to conference only and a little less travel.
Yeah, we haven't really broken that down, Wyatt. I mean, that really wasn't in our factors, that the cost of it really wasn't the reason for it. Certainly if we have less contest, it'll be less money, but it really wasn't a factor. We didn't look at that in terms of exactly what the numbers would be. We just felt like more time was needed for testing purposes and just to health and safety. But the money certainly is obvious there, but it's not something that we elaborated very long on.
How does that help? And it's kind of as Wyatt asked, with the football conference is not exactly stating it yet, but having the OU game and then getting a break before you would play again. How does that bye week after the first week help you guys out?
Yeah, it was when Joe and I talked about that early on, it was strictly to buy us more time to find out what was going to happen in the meantime, but with the virus. And it was strictly for a health and safety purposes. That it bought us both kind of 2 weeks to figure out what was going to happen with this. And then if we had people that were sick by the virus, they had a chance to come back, but it also gave us more time to understand what was going to happen. And we just, the more time, it seems like it can help us. And sometimes you go backwards, sometimes you go forward. We're certainly hoping to go forward, but it allowed us to understand how things were going to work and gave us both 2 more weeks to figure that out.
Are you confident with the amount of testing that Missouri State's doing? I mean, you look all over, whether it's the NBA and all those big leagues that are able to financially test frequently. You look at Oklahoma, who's able to test frequently. But Missouri State's not able to do that as much as them. Just how confident are you in the testing capabilities Missouri State's able to do? And just is there any future plan even after the Oklahoma game to test people?
Well, the resocialization and the NCAA guidelines tell us what we have to do. And Rick, I don't know if those are out there, if we've given those to the media or the media has picked those up, but it tells us that even in preseason, so August 17th, when we start, we have to test all of those sports that are high risk. So the high risk sports, again, are both soccer and football, and volleyball. So we will be testing every week in preseason. And then when football starts and competition starts, we'll be testing weekly there as well. So although we're not testing daily like the NBA is, I believe, we are testing weekly with all the high-risk sports because that's what's mandatory. So we are doing what we're asked to do. And again, that's not mandatory from the NCAA, but those are guidelines that they suggest, and we're adhering to those guidelines. So I think we're testing about as much as we can test, and I feel comfortable with that, Wyatt.
If testing like this continues long-term, is that a financially viable situation for MSU to keep going with?
Well, we have run the numbers on that, and we're able to do it. We're making that commitment to do it for our student athletes, and we want to be able to have sports. We believe that's a big part of the college experience, and we've got kids in the spring that were shut out. We certainly don't want that to happen again. So these guidelines and testing are put into place for a reason to try them, I think. And again, that's just my personal opinion and my vote that we can try to keep moving forward. Again, if the virus gets out of control and gets out of hand, then things will be differently. But I believe that we can do it, and President Smart believes he can do it. So we're going to move forward as of today.
Have there kind of been any talks? I mean, I know the GLVC mentioned today that October 1st is kind of their date to have something for basketball. Has there been any talks with y'all about when you might want to start looking at winter sports and what's next?
Not at all. Not at all. The only discussion we've had about winter sports is to make sure that we do it right in the fall and that we can do it in the fall, because we feel like that has some repercussions about moving into the winter sports. But other than that, just philosophical thought, we haven't gotten into anything with winter sports yet.
How has testing been recently for the athletes?
I think testing's been okay. I mean, we've probably been in, I don't know what the average is, but we certainly, I feel pretty good about where we are. I wish we had 0. That's not the case, but I think it's also unrealistic to think that.
How many cases are there right now that you're aware of, at least?
31, I believe.
Okay.
And that's from the start of, sorry, go ahead, Wyatt.
Active cases, or 31 active cases right now?
I don't know if it's active. I just know we've had 31 cases.
Yeah, Jim said that's the total number of positive tests since May. So that would not be active. That's total positive tests.
Yep. You know how many of those? You know how many of those are football players?
I don't know that off the top of my head. No. It's not the majority, I can tell you that.
Kyle, when you spoke to Joe at OU about moving the season opener up in football, obviously there's discussions among the Power Five conferences, the Big 12, ACC, and the SEC about if they do non-conference games, it might just be among themselves in a Power Five structure. Did in that discussion with Joe, did he bring that up at all, or was he saying, "Hey, we're expecting that we're still going to be able to play an FCS opponent non-conference"?
Yeah, Joe's been very open and very candid. He didn't get specific about non-con. He just basically said, "Hey, we want to play all of them," and obviously that includes non-conference. But he didn't elaborate much on that. He just said, "Hey, things are fluid, and as of right now, we're expecting to play all 12."
How much would it affect you guys, obviously financially, but just, with the schedule as it is right now, if OU were to have to follow the Big 12 and whatever they had to do if they had to move on from that FCS game?
Well, I don't know how much it would affect us from a competition standpoint and what we do moving forward. It certainly would affect us, from a financial standpoint. And from day one, I've factored that we probably weren't going to play this game from a money standpoint. So if we get it, that would be great. We're certainly hoping that we get it, but we've done our financials not thinking we're going to get the game, just because I always look at things worst case scenario from a financial standpoint. But certainly hope that we do get to play it. And again, I hope our kids get to play it, because they really look forward to playing those type of games. And I know our staff is excited to get out and play the first game, and I'm sure Oklahoma's excited to get out and play the first game as well.
I know some schools on the FCS level, or in Group of Five, there's discussions if their games are canceled because of Power Five programs deciding to cancel them to focus on their conference-only schedules, that they might seek, legal guidance and maybe trying to get that payout from their contract anyway. Would you follow that with OU if the game was canceled, or what would you try to do?
Yeah, Joe and I we've not talked about that because the game's on, but I can tell you, if for some reason that game is canceled, we would not do that. We would not do that. We understand the situation. Joe's a friend. He always has been a friend. And we would either try to reschedule that game at some other time, or who knows what we would do, but we would not do any legal action. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think there's a lot of folks in the same situation, and nobody wants this to happen. We're having to react to it the best we can. So I don't think that would be a prudent strategy at all.
As far as football getting back to practice and everything, is Coach Petrino comfortable with how much they're going to be able to get on the field here in the next few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, with going to week 0, we've got to move everything up a week. So yeah, he's been excited and encouraged to play and practice from the day he got here. So he just wants a chance to get out there with the guys and actually get in the field and start practicing with them. So I know he's excited about it. He's encouraged. And again, I don't think there's anybody more excited about playing than Coach Petrino.
And that's got to start this week, right? Practices at the end of Saturday?
Yes.
The Saturday, the right day there?
Yes.
Cool.
Any other questions for Kyle, guys? Well, we appreciate you jumping on short notice. I know there's a lot of moving parts for the last 72 hours or so, but we appreciate you guys jumping on. And Brandon, you're good from your end? All right, buddy. Thank you so much for joining us and all you do for the sport of college football. I appreciate you guys, and I'll be in touch with the local guys here shortly once we're able to figure out football availability here in the next week or so.